Hi, so today I want to talk about a discussion, and I feel like this is going to be super controversial. I've finished reading Norwegian Wood and 1Q84 by the author Haruki Murakami, I think that's how it's pronounced. And when I finished reading Norwegian Wood, I kind of had this feeling about the book, and I took to Goodreads to see if anybody else had sort of expressed their view about the book and the author's choice of plots, subplots, the choice of writing about certain characters, and someone else had expressed this view and they got totally dragged on Goodreads. A flock of people literally took to the comment section and dragged. I feel like maybe their point just hadn't come across in a good way and they weren't really highlighting parts of the book that they saw as problematic, and then I decided to read this one, and I already had read book one by the time I'd read Norwegian Wood. This is 3 books in one, and then I went and finished this one to see if this one had a similar theme to the things I was having a problem with Norwegian Wood, and it did. This is not a hate video. I did sort of enjoy the both books. I enjoyed this one more than Norwegian Wood. I thought that the actual language in it is beautiful. The storytelling is amazing. The translators have done a really good job of translating this from Japanese. You cannot fault the actual English in this because the imagery is stunning. What I do have a problem with is the way that some of the characters are written and also some of the content of the book. Some of it also seems badly misplaced and that it doesn't add to the actual plot. I felt like it was just put there to get a reaction and not a lot of people are actually reacting to it. The defense that a lot of people were using against this other person, that is that she was a prude. I am not against sexual imagery in books. I'm not against sex scenes in any way. I just kind of didn't really think that they were necessary, or how frequently they came across made it a little bit problematic for me. Not exactly the sex scenes themselves, I'm going to tell you more about it later. And also a lot of people were saying it's a book, it's art, and I totally understand. Do it for the art. This book definitely pushes boundaries. The other book definitely pushes social boundaries, and I understand that reading books is sort of a way of pushing the comfort of other people and the experiences that other people have. You don't necessarily want to read books about the experiences you've had. You want to read a book about something that is totally different to what you are experiencing so that you can experience something else. That is the point of fiction. However, I am here to sort of discuss whether Murakami is sort of portraying some kind of fantasy. I want to talk about the references that are made about rape in a jokey way and some of the descriptions of female characters. I am not here to call anyone a paedophile. I am not here to call anybody a sexist. All I'm trying to say is that some of the ways in which certain topics have been written about and some of the things that have been put in this book I felt were quite unnecessary. So my first sort of discussion topic, and remember this is totally a discussion. Please don't use the comments to call me some sort of social justice warrior or anything. That is not what I am about. I am here to bring a light topics of a book that I think need a little bit more discussion, because these are so popular on the internet. People saying that they love them, they're the best things that they've ever read. However, they aren't highlighting the things that could come across a little bit problematic. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss is something that I find probably the most problematic about them, and I'm just going to get straight into it. There is jokes about rape, there is lightening of the situation of rape, and I'm not okay with that, first of all. So this is mainly talking about the book Norwegian Wood, and I have some quotes taken from the book that I'm going to say. I'm sorry if they're triggering for anyone, but I feel like if I don't read them out, then I don't have evidence to back up what I'm saying. So the main character says on one instance, "I'm not kidding, I might end up forcing you to have sex with me." And then he reflects on a memory of a sexual encounter that he's had, and he says on the memory of that, "The first girl put up a terrific struggle when I tried to undress her and into a hotel bed." I think it's not shocking news that if no means no, and that if someone's putting up a resistance, then you don't follow through with it. And then another character says to that main character, if you feel like raping anyone in the middle of the night, don't get the wrong one. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware that you could pick the wrong one when raping someone. I kind of just assumed that raping anyone was always the wrong choice to make. Obviously these are said out of context, but I still find it a little bit problematic of putting these words on paper in the first place. Murakami may not have intentionally made this to read this way. This could just be a translation from Japanese into English. However, these are not the words that I want to see on the paper of a book that is getting 5-star reviews galore. This is something that I would want to be addressed in when reading reviews of this book. I also just want to point out that I am a fan of reading books that I find disturbing. Some of my favourite books, Flowers in the Attic, talks about incest. Stolen, which is a YA novel, which is a total rip-off of that film with Martin Sheen in it from the 80s, talks about finding attraction in someone that has kidnapped you. I'm all over for these type of books. I'm okay with reading rape scenes if they're adding to the actual value that rape is wrong. I don't want to just be reading jokes about rape left, right and centre. Another thing about the 2 books that I've read about Murakami is that on 3 occasions there is sex with underage girls. In all 3 of these occasions, the girls have come on to the adults and the adults sort of struggle to restrain themselves from having sex with the children. So I can't remember if all 3 occasions happened in 1Q84 or if one of them was in Norwegian Wood. As I said, I sort of read one book and then read Norwegian Wood and then finished off the other 2. But there was a scenario where an adult woman was come onto by a young girl that she was teaching, and there is a case of an older man who he's paralyzed, and then these 3 underage girls who haven't even started menstruating have sex with him. And then there is another scene where the main character, this is a total spoiler, click off if you don't want to know, where the main character is essentially raped by an underage girl as well. Some people made the arguments that the age of consent is not international around the world, but that doesn't make having sex with prepubescent girls okay. Getting back to the point I made where fiction pushes boundaries. In one instance, I would say fair enough, this is pushing a boundary, this is furthering a plot. On 2 instances, I would say yes, furthering a plot if it definitely adds to the story. But 3 instances in 1, possibly 2 books, this just kind of feels like maybe a fantasy. Not all instances are necessary to further the plot. In one instance, you could argue that it's showing this man to be sort of like a demigod on Earth, that the girls aren't even real or something like that. But I don't want to read 3 instances of underage girls seemingly overpowering an adult and having sex with them. Take from that what you will, but an author using 3 instances, it just doesn't really sit well with me, and I don't really understand why it isn't being brought up more. Another issue that I have with Murakami's books is how women are portrayed. So you may argue that in this book especially, the main character is not just a man, it's also a woman, and they get equal amounts of readership time. And this woman does go out of her way to kill people, assassinate people who have been abusing women. How that's fantastic. I love reading about very strong female leads, but there was sort of an obsession with her breasts and her image. There was pages upon pages dedicated to how she felt about her breasts. Again, mention it once and it's further in the plot, that's fine. It just felt that there was just too much emphasis on this woman's breasts. Across both books that I read, female characters are sexualized. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with female sexuality at all. Women are beautiful, amazing creatures that enjoy sex. I mean, that's pretty much how it is, but how it is portrayed in these books is the problem. It kind of feels like it's putting the reader in a position where they are an object. That is an object of desire, that is an object of sexuality, and the man is just sort of the good guy that is chasing around all these women. There is a lot of instances in Norwegian Wood where women are sort of attracted to the main guy, used by him, and then discarded These women just seem to kind of want attention and companionship and some company, and he sort of has his way with them, and then they become irrelevant characters to the story. Their sort of sub-story isn't finished off. So it just seems like they were added to the book to further sex scenes. In Norwegian Wood, there's also an instance where two women are sharing a room together. Both of these women are straight. However, there has to be some hint of a lesbian interaction between them. I'm not all for sexualizing lesbian relationships for the entertainment of straight male readers. And again, the main character is supposed to be likable, I assume. There is so much cheating that isn't really addressed. There is sexual relationships with your best friend's girlfriend, swinging. And again, there's nothing wrong with any of these things. I just kind of feel like the purpose of these books is to sort of play out a sexual fantasy, and I don't really understand why this isn't addressed in the terms of people reviewing these books. I kind of feel like this is a whole underlying issue that isn't being addressed, and especially the rape jokes. As a reader, I didn't feel comfortable reading that. I understand that these were written a long time ago and that they've only been translated a long time after their original publish, and I understand that I'm talking about a different culture. However, rape is rape in any culture. Rape is rape in any period of writing a book. You can't say that this is okay just because it's been written in another country and in another time. What I would have liked to have seen in these books is someone acknowledging that this sort of language isn't okay. And like I said, I'm all for books that push social boundaries. However, 1 time, great. 2 time, no. 3 times, I don't think that you're getting the message. Like I made with the point where there was 3 underage sex scenes. I don't think that they were necessary, and I do feel like it's just some sort of fantasy that's been meant to play it out. I'm basically just wanting to highlight the things that I do think need addressing, and to hopefully give people a bit of different perspective on something that they might have read. You might have read these books and loved every sentence of it, but I'm just trying to make you think about what you have read. Maybe you could go back and reread the book with sort of a different perspective or a different acknowledgement, to say. This book is over 1,200 pages long, and while I do admit the main female character acknowledges that it's disgusting to have sex with underage girls, she points that out a lot. There's no acknowledgement from male characters that this is a bad thing. They kind of try to justify to her why it's okay. However, maybe Murakami has written that specifically in that way to show some sort of message about the modern world. I don't know. He could be fully aware of what he's writing and writing it for that specific reason. That's just why I'm here, to bring it into discussion. Is Murakami aware that some of the things that he has been writing about are quite disturbing or could be quite insensitive to readers? And is he writing that to see what reaction that he would get? That would just have to be something to be discussed by people that have read the book. Like I've said, not a lot of people are mentioning this on Goodreads, and the one comment that I did see that brought up the discussion of this, their points were kind of just invalidated straight away. I feel like this topic has been brushed under the carpet a little bit and not being brought to the discussion table when talking about how good or bad that these books may be. So that's where I want to end it, because this has been quite uncomfortable to make. Please keep it friendly down in the comments. I'm not meaning this video as to be a diss or anything of Murakami. All I'm trying to say is some elements of these books are disturbing and they're not being spoke about. So thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in a more light-hearted video next time. Bye!